Hello, and greetings. So today I'm going to be sewing a shirt completely by hand. Why? Because if you are following along, the things you'll need for this are fabric and time. Plan is I'm going to draft out a pattern, cut out my fabric, and get sewing. I expect this is going to take a while, because, yeah. Okay, so step one is to draw a map of Texas. Just kidding. That's not Texas. That's my shirt pattern. Well, here's the chest line, here's the waistline, and here's the hip line. These lines correspond to my measurements so that I will end up with a shirt that fits. There's the front of the shirt and there's the back. Oh, and don't forget to add this long rectangle on the front panel for the buttons, which will be added later. This long rectangle is called a placket. To get the width of the placket, I estimated the diameter of my buttons, then added about 5 mm to that, and then multiplied by 3. The back has darts. Boom! Darts. Also, here's the thread that I used for this project. As you can see, it is black and says coats in it, which is perfect because the shirt I am making is not black and also is not a coat. Okay, so here I am sewing a back dart into the back of the shirt. A shirt is a dart. A dart is a little wedge of, yeah. What I meant to say there is a dart is a wedge of fabric that helps the two-dimensional fabric conform to your non-two-dimensional body.
Wait, is this here in the frame?
Yes, yes it is. And after sewing in the darts, I pressed them nice and flat with an iron. This video is not sponsored by Bundaberg.
And now it is time for Life Hack of the Day. So up here is where I keep my pieces that I'm not using yet. This is my closet. This is the top of the closet. And I have this nice little foam board that I put my pieces on. This allows me to pick up all my sewing mess and put it away without actually having to put any effort into cleaning it up. Yeah. Jello.
Having sewn the darts into the back, I decided to baste the front panels to the back to see how everything was fitting together.
I think this right here is the definition of couture. Cowboy hats. Haute couture. Okay, back to sewing. Actually, yeah, let me put that on time.
I decided that everything was fitting together nicely, so I joined the back panels to the front panels permanently, using a hand backstitch. These side seams are the longest ones on the garment, so I was here for a while. Next, I ran those seams over with an iron to make them nice and flat.
It is now the end of day one, and what I've accomplished today is I have sewn up my darts, sewn up both of my side seams, and one shoulder seam. So my goals for tomorrow will be to finish the other shoulder seam, and then I'm going to start finishing my seams. So yeah, it is 12:30, midnight, and good night. Hello, it is day 2, it is almost 10. I have not worked on my shirt at all today. Wow, that was a voice crack. But what I have done is I've made this rope, and I'm very proud of it. But I've got to get sewing, so...
You know the drill by now. Spend a couple hours stabbing some fabric with a tiny piece of metal. Then press. Oh look, it's daytime.
Okay.
Well actually, I wrote a little too little for the voiceover for this part, so that clip isn't here yet. Oh look, it's daytime. Yeah, you're gonna have to wait a bit for... Oh look, it's daytime. And daytime means more sewing, but this time I have natural light, which is nice and easy on the eyes. Right now I am doing something to the seams. I think I am finishing them.
Okay, so I just thought I'd explain what I'm doing right now. So if I don't finish the seams, I have these little raw edges that can fray, and that's no good. Like this, and the threads can come out. That's not good. So what I'm doing is I'm rolling over each one of these seams and sewing. So in the end, they'll look kind of like this. Like this. Yeah. And that way they won't fray, and I'll be happy. So yeah.
So while past me is sewing, maybe present me could explain why I decided to take on this project. And there are a couple reasons for this. The first reason is that, like many of my peers from the Generation Z, I found myself addicted to mindlessly scrolling through the gram. and I must have been spending at least 2 hours a day, if not more, when I first decided to start making this shirt. And I realized that in 2 hours a day, I could achieve so much more than eye pain and a numb thumb. So I said to myself, what's the opposite of endlessly scrolling through social media? Why, of course, sewing a shirt by hand. Introspective voiceover me signing off. Let's see what Sewing Me is up to.
So I'm done with seam finishes for now, and it's time to press.
And of course, since pressing is such a stressful experience for the fabric, don't forget to comfort it once you're done ironing. There. Good fabric. Psych, more pressing. If you are repeating this at home, be sure to make adult supervision happen when handling hot things.
Now I'm gonna cut out some interfacing to go inside my shirt collar.
And while we're doing that, let's talk about the second reason I decided to do this. And that is, of course, to improve my hand sewing skills. I just feel like hand sewing is such a fun and useful skill to have.
I can't find my scissors. Where are my scissors? Where are my scissors? Oh. There they are. So, how do I do this?
That's how. I used an iron-on interfacing for this, so that means one side of the material has a heat-activated glue on it. I placed the glue side onto the fabric and applied heat with an iron to fuse the layers together. My mom tipped me off that it's best to apply the interfacing before cutting out the collar from the fabric. So after ironing the interfacing on, it was time to trace out the collar block and cut it out. Snip, snoop. Snip, snoop! So here are my collar pieces, and now it's time to sew them on the shirt. I had to read a tutorial for this because I'd never done this before, and collars are confusing. But after reading the tutorial, it turned out alright, and there was a lot of ironing involved, and some seam trimming and stuff like that. But overall, it turned out alright.
Hello. It is the end of day 3, and I have finished finishing my seam finishes. I also managed to get the entire thing of the collar done. So, yay. I just have this nice little collar now. Yay. And here's my dog. Hello. My desk is a veritable mess. Okay. Here we go. Time to sew. And now is when we get to appreciate one of the benefits of sewing this by hand, which is that you can barely see my stitching from the outside on the placket, which is where I ideally would like my stitching to be as invisible as possible. So, if you would like to achieve the same effect without going through the trouble of hand sewing everything, I would recommend machine stitching everything else and then just hand sewing the front.
Okay, so now let's talk about the third and final reason I decided to take on this sewing project.
And that third and final reason is that I found within myself a desire to possess an upper body garment of novel fabrication specifically tailored to the metrical analysis of my physical form.
So here I'm sewing something onto something that I can't really remember what it is. It might be the placket.
Alright, I am done with the placket on both sides. So it's time to press. Time to press. Midnight on day 6 has just passed, so it is now day 7. And that also means I am now officially 2 days behind the official end of this project, and that also means that school has just restarted from Easter break. So this video is probably going to take a bit longer than I expected, but hey, we're here to kill fast fashion, so slow fashion.
Stay tuned for part 2. Oh look, it's part 2.
So what I'm working on now is, originally I had sewn both of my plackets on the inside of the garment, like this. Yeah. But then I decided I didn't really like the way that looked, so I unpicked this seam up here, and then I flipped my placket back to the outside, and now I gotta close it up again. Yep. Okay.
And here's a clip of how amazingly fast I sew in real time. Let's keep that on time lapse.
Alright, so the crisis has been averted. Now I have one outside placket, one inside placket, as opposed to just two inside plackets. So now when I put this shirt together, like close it, I have a placket on the outside as well as on the inside. Yeah, I like how that looks a whole lot better. So I'm glad I did that, even though it took me like an extra hour. Why did it take so long? I don't know, maybe it's because I'm tired. Anyway, see you guys tomorrow. So side note, because of what I did with the placket, I actually have this like extra flap on the inside now. So like the buttonholes are gonna go along here, and the buttons will slide in under this, and I think that will create a kind of nice, cool effect. So yay, surprise! Yeah, so I'm done with a lot of the foundational work on my shirt. And it's time to lay out the buttons. So I'm going to go back into tutorial mode in 3, 2...
Okay, so now it's time to draw a line about an centimeter from the edge of the fabric. This is being done by me in the clip.
Yep, and your first button will go right here in the collar, so you don't need to really mark that out, but I'm going to just put a line right here.
And now I'm going to mark out the placement of the buttons. The first 2 buttons should be closer to each other than the rest of the buttons are to each other. This is because... Actually, that's a secret, so I can't tell you that. But it's because if you put them too far apart, your shirt will gape in the front. And that would not be ideal. I have 6 buttons, so I drew 6 lines to mark their positions. I think you can theoretically have as many buttons as you like, but I'm wondering how many would be too many? Because you know those old-timey shirts that just have a line of buttons down the front? Okay, so going back to this clip from earlier, can you guess what's missing from my shirt? Let's say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3. Eyebrows. Just kidding, it's sleeves. This clip doesn't have any audio, so here's some opera to entertain you. Hey, past sewing Enoch, do you think stealing is cool?
Yeah.
Disclaimer, stealing is not cool. That curvy little shape was a sleeve. I cut it out of this old bedsheet as a mock-up. And since it's just a mock-up, I decided to use a machine because since it's not the real thing, it doesn't count as cheating.
Okay, so I'm really glad I did this mock-up, because the sleeve is slightly too big, and I'm gonna have to take out like 4 or 5 centimeters.
And then for some reason, instead of continuing on making the sleeves, I decided to sew on the buttons. Now we're back to sleeves. I added these zigzag lines to my pattern, because no sleeve pattern is complete without teeth. I really struggled saying that for some reason, so while we're waiting for me to cut out the pattern, let's listen to some bloopers. Now we're back to sleeves. I added these zigzag line, zigzag line, because no pattern is sleeve without complete. Snip, snip.
And hello, we are back. Wait, I need to press this first. Okay, so what happened here is I drew my line on the wrong side of the fabric.
The explanation I gave here made no sense, so just to recap, I made a mistake and now I'm gonna have to redo that again.
Okay, so a random sign 10.
Oh, Santana, don't you cry for me.
We're coming to Louisiana with a banjo on my knee.
I have made a mistake, and I'm gonna have to unpick my seams. Okay, so the bright side of this is that now I get to redo my extremely long and wonky seam and make it not so wonky, hopefully.
Yeah, so I managed to redo both of my... I managed to correct both of my mistakes at the same time. Woo! I'm in the home stretch now, so it's just a game of pin the tail on the donkey from here, so to speak.
Swimming like a circle.
After getting distracted by my pet fish for a couple minutes, it was back to sewing the sleeves on while watching the Malaysia Airlines safety video. I highly recommend watching the Malaysia Airlines safety video. You'll see why.
Welcome aboard Malaysia Airlines. Red tab. We also have life vests. The end of our safety demonstration. As the safety...
Yeah, so I am nearly done. Like, really, really nearly done. Here I'm just ironing the back, and the front, and the everywhere. And we're done! Time for the grand reveal. Stylish. Custom. Not overly expensive, but rather time consuming. I'm never reading all that. Hey, it's the end of the video. Now would be a good time to maybe get up and walk around, go outside, get some sun that your brain has been craving. Or don't, I'm not your mom. Anyway, life is short, be kind.